I'm kind of riding home defeated. Last episode I got lost and cut my losses, which ended up being a big disappointment for me at the time. I'm now riding back the correct way around the Garnet Range to check out the ruins of the Coloma ghost town. What's interesting about Coloma is how little we know about it. It's known as the Mystery Camp. We know it was a mining town and it was occupied from roughly 1893 to 1906. The only way we know how old it is by looking at the dates on the newspapers that line the interiors of the cabins for insulation. The University of Montana has done historic archaeological studies on Coloma and found that much of the mining equipment, such as pumping machines, railroad tracks, and ventilation systems, still remain. There's little to no mining records on Coloma. It's estimated that, at most, about $250,000 worth of gold was mined here. There's evidence that the region was occupied again from the 1930s to 1950s, and it's possible that the Great Depression brought a few desperate new residents to Coloma in search for more precious metals. It's estimated that there are still a few very thin gold veins in Coloma, but the amount of effort required to extract them is more expensive than their value. Coloma is what it looks like when a ghost town isn't maintained. Restoration and maintenance efforts have sustained much of what's left of Garnet's appearance, but Coloma, by contrast, looks a lot more dilapidated. Every winter that passes threatens these century-old structures a little bit more. Coloma could have been a town of a few hundred people. There was obviously a mill that fashioned lumber into building materials, and there were quite a few other structures than just homes. Locals put up retaining walls to prevent erosion underneath their homes, built along the slopes that overlook the valley beyond. I imagine this Coloma as a town of families. Children played in the forests. Men and women would court each other, and the town would gossip about it. The town would be filled with the aromas of meals being cooked, and smoke would stream out of every cabin as the wood stoves kept the people of Coloma comfortable during the harsh winters. These were a tough people. Even the Native Americans of the region wouldn't stay in a place like this permanently. The Colomans were tied to the land until the land gave out, and then they moved on. I wonder, was U.S. currency even valuable in a society like this? I speculate they would trade any ores found in Coloma for U.S. dollars and garnet, and would save them up until the town gave out and it was time to leave. Everyday Colomans probably wouldn't trade money with each other, but goods and services. How about I chop a day's worth of lumber for your wood stove for those 5 rabbits you just hunted outside of town? Hell, we'll just cook them together. Why not help me build this retaining wall and we'll all feast on the next wild hog we find, huh? I'll help put a roof over your head if you help me sew a quilt for my newborn. That's how I imagine Colomans living, anyway. Would they venture out to Garnet for supplies or to hit up one of their many saloons? If they got too drunk, would their horses know the way home? How often would they run into natives? Would it be useful to know their languages, which would have been the many varieties of Salish? How long did it take Coloma to realize their minds were empty? Who were the last ones to leave Coloma? The roughly 15 years it was supposedly occupied would have been a long time to the people of the turn of the century, with their short lifespans and limited access to medical care. If you ever get the chance, Coloma and Garnet are right next to each other, and they tell a tale of 2 kinds of settlements you'll find in the Wild West, a town and a village. It had been a long day. I'd gotten lost, found my way out, hid from the rain, and before the end of the day, something amazing happened.
What is this? Oh. What is this? No. Now I have to tell you a story.
I forgot to mention it, but before I set off south to get lost on my way to Bear Gulch, a couple arrived at my campsite as I was nude sunbathing.
Over there, and all of a sudden I heard a woman's voice, out here, and she went, "It's okay, we just want to see the view." And immediately I'm like, oh God, there's people. So I came out, and it was these 2 people, and they said, "Hey, just want to see the view." And I said, "Hey, well, if you can't find a campsite, here's this one. I also found another one in another place." They remembered my name and left me this canned wine. What the hell? Enjoy the wine, Kate and Alex. Well, what the shit?
By notifying the couple where they could find a campsite and both water and garbage facilities at Garnet, they were so grateful they came back while I was away and left me a note and a present.
Wine can and should go anywhere, always. Sometimes you just have to think outside the bottle. Strange Folk Wines. And they left me a little note right here, under a rock.
I may not have been thinking about it at the time, but I just had one of my best days on my trip. There's still a charm to the West. If you leave your comfort zone to find adventure, chances are it's already out there, looking to find you.
That's it.